We're seeing AI move from the server room to the boardroom, in the form of everything from digital command centers to actual humanoid robots. But, as these systems get more and more power, how do we make sure they're making decisions that aren't just good for the bottom line, but are also, legal and ethical? Well, today we're going to dive into a new research paper that lays out a blueprint for exactly that. So let me ask you this. Could an AI be your next boss? I know, it sounds like something straight out of science fiction, right? But the reality is, it might be a lot closer than you think. And maybe the bigger question is, would you even trust it? Because look, this isn't some far-off future we're talking about. It's already happening. Companies are putting autonomous AI systems in charge of corporate management. We're seeing huge digital command centers that run operations. We've got personified virtual CEOs like Tang Yu over in China, and even humanoid robots like Mika, who was named a CEO in 2023. The tech is here, for sure. But the rulebook? Well, that's a whole other story. And this is where things get really, really tricky. Without a rock-solid ethical and legal framework, putting an AI in charge is just an enormous risk. Because when an AI makes a mistake, the consequences can be absolutely huge. Just take Amazon's attempt to build an AI recruiting tool. The idea was pretty simple. Let's automate finding the best candidates. But the result? It was a total PR nightmare. The system literally taught itself to be biased against women. So, what on earth went wrong? Well, the AI learned from a decade of hiring data. And since the tech industry has, historically been dominated by men, the AI just looked at the data and concluded that male candidates were better. It basically learned our own historical biases and then amplified them. It was so bad, Amazon had to scrap the whole project. And it's not just Amazon, there's the Compass system, which is used in US courts to predict who might reoffend. That thing sparked this massive debate because it turns out different mathematical definitions of fairness gave completely different and sometimes discriminatory results. And then you have Sophia the robot being granted citizenship in Saudi Arabia, which gives it the legal rights of a person, creating this legal and ethical minefield. What all of these examples show us is that we're deploying these powerful AIs way faster than we're writing the rules for them. So how do we fix this mess? Well, a research paper from the Moscow Institute of Physics and Technology is proposing a really practical model for building an AI that we can actually trust with corporate power. You can think of it as a blueprint for an ethical robot CEO. The model is built on 5 core pillars, and each one is designed to solve a specific piece of this trust puzzle, from understanding the law all the way to explaining its own decisions. The idea is that together, they create a system where every single action is both legitimate and ethical. So let's break them down one by one. Okay, first up is computational law. Think about it. A human law might say something like prevent discrimination, but to an AI, that's just a bunch of words. It's meaningless. This pillar is all about translating that vague idea into hard, cold math. It's not a suggestion, it becomes a non-negotiable command. Like you're literally defining a precise statistical range for what fair means, and the AI is forbidden to ever violate it. You're writing a legal code the machine has to obey. Then, on top of that, we layer on what's called the operational context. So if computational law is the law of the land, this is more like the company's specific house rules. It defines the company's personality, its risk appetite, its own ethical red lines. Is this a super cautious bank or is it an aggressive tech startup? This context tells the AI not just what the law says, but how we as a company choose to do business within that law. Now, this next pillar, controlled synthetic data. This might be the most clever part of the whole thing. We saw what happened with Amazon, right? You train an AI on our flawed, biased past, you get a flawed, biased AI. This pillar avoids that trap completely. It creates a perfect, artificial data set. It's kind of like a flight simulator, but for business ethics. You're teaching the AI on the world we want to have, not the one we've actually had. So it learns what an ideal decision looks like from day one. The fourth pillar, game theory, is all about how the AI thinks strategically. It doesn't just guess or play the odds, it calculates. It uses these mathematical models to analyze every possible move and what could happen. And here's the key, it's programmed to be a pessimist. It always plans for the worst case scenario and picks the move that's safest, even if everything goes wrong. This hard codes caution and ethical behavior right into its core logic. And finally, none of this works without explainable communication. An AI leader that makes decisions inside a black box, that would be terrifying. So this pillar demands total transparency. The AI has to be able to justify its reasoning, maybe through a detailed dashboard or even a verbal explanation. It has to answer the most important question you'd ever ask a leader: why? Okay, so that's all the theory. But what does this actually look like when the rubber hits the road? The research paper gives us a great little test case to see this blueprint in action. So here's the scenario. An AI leader needs to pick a new member for the board of directors, and its main goal is to follow the company's rules about making sure there's gender diversity. Simple enough, right? First things first, the AI looks at the data. Now, if it only used historical data, it would probably run into that same Amazon problem and start favoring male candidates. But because it's using that third pillar, it instead relies on controlled synthetic data, a dataset that models a perfectly fair and balanced slate of candidates. This teaches the AI what an unbiased choice actually looks like from the start. Next, it calculates its strategy using game theory. In this table, don't worry, it looks complicated, but it's actually pretty simple. This shows the AI's thinking. It can choose high, medium, or low compliance with that diversity rule. The outcomes are scored really simply. A 1 is a good, ethical outcome. A -1 is a bad, unethical one. Now just notice how choosing medium or low compliance has the risk of that dreaded -1 result if things go south. And here is the magic trick. This is the really elegant part. The AI is programmed to use something called Wald's criterion. All that means is it looks at the worst possible outcome for each strategy and then picks the one with the best result. So for medium and low compliance, the worst-case scenario is a -1. But for high compliance, the worst it can ever get is a +1. So the AI is mathematically forced to choose the safest, most ethical path. It will always choose high compliance. It's designed to be cautious. So this model gives us a really fascinating peek into what the future of AI in the boardroom could actually look like. It's a huge shift from just building powerful algorithms to building systems we can actually trust. And that's really the biggest takeaway here. Building a responsible AI leader, it's not really a technical challenge at its core. It's a human one. It forces us to stop and really define our own values, our rules for fairness, for ethics, for justice, in a language that's so precise that even a machine can't misunderstand it. Which kind of leaves us with one last big question. Because even with a perfect system, things can go wrong. If an AI leader built on all these principles still makes a mistake, who's to blame? Is it the programmers, the company, the AI itself? That's a question we're all going to have to answer, and probably a lot sooner than we think.